Did you know that the wonderful medical aid subsidy you receive as a government employee might not be as beneficial as you think when it comes to your taxes? Imagine this: you've been diligently serving as a government employee, receiving a medical aid subsidy as part of your benefits. It feels great, right? You pay a portion and your employer pays the balance. But what if I told you when it comes to tax time, that subsidy could be causing you more harm than good? You see, for tax purposes, the South African Revenue Services, or SARS, considers the amount that your employer contributes towards your taxable income. The harsh reality: you are effectively paying the entire medical aid contribution yourself. So the bigger the subsidy, the more gets added to your taxable income. And we all know what that means: more taxes. Now, you might be thinking, this can't be right, surely. But I assure you, it's a fact that many aren't aware of, and it can have a significant impact on your financial future, especially when it comes to choosing whether you should retire or resign. Now, in this video, I'm going to do a deep dive into the issues and talk about what it really means for you and your future. So stick around and let's uncover the hidden truth together. Now, let's get started. Remember, I'm doing a basic tax calculation for you here inside of this that I'm going to share with you today. I'm also going to be using some figures. So when you're doing this, it's best to have it done by a proper tax practitioner. And again, make sure that you're using the latest tax guide when you're working with this. I'm using the tax guide that was current at the time of me shooting this video. Now, I want to put everything into perspective, but I first want to be able to put some figures together so that we understand this, that you can understand this. And I want to put it in a way that's easy to do the calculation, right? So let's make an assumption that your total medical aid contribution, this is your med aid premium, this is the total, right? And I'm going to say it works out to 3,000 Rand, right? 3,000 Rand. Now, in my example, remember, the employer is paying a portion and you paying a portion. So in my example, I'm going to split this up and I'm going to say you are contributing 1,000 Rand. And I'm going to say that the employer is contributing the balance naturally, right? So I'll put ER for employer, and the employer is contributing 2,000. Now, together that makes up the 3,000 that's being contributed. And you might be looking at this 2,000 and saying that's a great benefit. It is a great benefit to have, of course. What I want you to be mindful, though, is this is what's called a fringe benefit because it's part of your salary. It's something that you are collecting now, which is in addition to your normal income. Now, again, as always, I don't want you to take my word for it. I want you to do a Google search. I've done the Google search for you, but you can also do this on your own. So I'll head over onto Google, and you can see here, you're just going to type in this, where I've typed in medical aid fringe benefit. So you can do a Google search so you can get access to this. And right at the top, it says here, if your employer contributes to a medical aid on your behalf, and this is how it works for government employees, there is a contribution that's paid on your behalf, their portion will be included in your IRP5 as a fringe benefit in the income section. This means that you'll get taxed on the employer amount, which is paid for you. See? Just think of it as part of your salary package, meaning this money is going to be added as part of your income. Now, I'm going to head over onto a SARS guide so that you can see this. Again, remember, you want to have this done by a proper tax consultant. I am just giving you an insight so that you can understand this when it comes to choosing whether you should retire or resign. Now, you can see here, I've taken off from a tax assessment, and notice the code that's written in here, right? So code 3810, it says medical schemes fees fringe benefit. Now, when you have a look at this, if you look at your tax assessment, maybe your last year's tax assessment or this year's tax assessment, you want to look out for this because you can run the calculation. Your medical schemes fees fringe benefit is basically a total of all of the amounts that the employer has paid for you. Now let's head over onto my calculation that I've been working for you so that I help you to understand how to see this. So if you look at what's happening from a tax perspective, remember in my calculation, I'm saying the total premium is 3,000, of which you are paying 1,000 Rand, and then the employer is paying 2,000. Now, what's going to happen when it comes to you getting your tax return done? Remember the employer's contribution, it's 2,000 Rand for that period, for that particular month. Pardon me, got one extra zero here. So 2,000 Rand. It's going to be multiplied by 12. I'm doing a very basic calculation here for you. So this is 24,000. which means it's now going to be added to your taxable income, added to your salary. So let's use an example. Let's say your normal salary is, in my example, I'm just going to say 100,000 just to make it look easy. So you've got your normal salary, plus we have to add this because this is what the fringe benefit is. Plus, in addition to that, remember the employer is also contributing towards the government employees pension fund. So those contributions are also part of a fringe benefit. I'll put that as, let's just use a figure just to make my math look easy. I'm going to say another 30,000, which means when SARS is working with this, everything gets added up. So you're not just taxed on your salary. When it comes to the tax assessment, everything's going to be added up. And the total for this particular member, in my example, is 154,000. Now, naturally, you can go about this doing it on your own, and you can confirm all the information that I'm sharing with you. At the end of the day, it comes down to an important decision when you are making that choice of whether you should retire or resign from GEPF. You see, ultimately, if it's getting added to your salary as a fringe benefit, then it means, in essence, from a tax perspective, you are seen as the one making the entire contribution. There really is no subsidy because even though it's getting paid for you, it's getting added later on by SARS. So technically, you are being paid for, you are paying for all of it, and you taxed accordingly. Now, if that's the case, then it makes the decision for retiring or resigning very critical. Because I often have members who want to consider the difference between retiring and resigning. And one of the key factors that sways them towards retiring, maybe it's the case for you, might just be medical aid. A concern for you that if you have to resign, would you be able to afford a medical aid? Are you able to get something as comprehensive as what you have currently? Now, if those are some of the concerns that's running through your mind, what I want you to see is, irrespective of whether you retire or resign, you are still, in essence, technically paying the entire contribution toward it. It's just camouflage in this instance here because you're sort of seeing it behind the scenes, and it's getting added to your taxable income at a later stage. You can't notice that upfront. Now, again, as always, I don't want you to take my word for it. I want you to get into your tax guide. So have a look at your tax assessment. So this will be your ITA. So have a look at that tax assessment. Go and look at the figures that I've shared with you today. Right? Now, am I saying that you're not getting any benefit by having a medical aid? I'm not saying that at all. So I quickly want to show you where the tax comes in, because you will get a deduction later on. It's just that it's coming in at a later stage. So let's head over onto a tax guide. Remember, I'm using the tax guide that was available at the time of me shooting this video. So you can see here, this is the latest tax guide, 2023. Please make sure that you're doing the same on your end. And you notice here, I've got this part, which is under deductions. You'll see here under deductions, it talks about medical and disability expenses. And if you can see how SARS is treating this, right? It doesn't matter the contribution, how much you're paying towards your medical aid. What SARS is saying is there's a fixed rand amount here. So see, 364 rand for the first two persons that are covered on a scheme. So you could be paying 1,000 rand, you could be paying 3,000 rand, but the maximum that you're going to get here, that we all get according to this tax year, is 364 rand for that particular period, right? And then every beneficiary thereafter that exceeds the two, it's 246. Now, only if you are older than 65 or if you have a disability, it changes slightly, right? So you are getting some benefit. But again, this is general. Every single person is able to get this as long as they're contributing towards a medical aid. We're able to get this as a tax deduction. So when it comes to making the decision of retiring or resigning, you want to analyze all of the options. And I hope that this video has now given you a bit more clarity in terms of what happens from a medical aid perspective. Remember, on the medical aid side, there's a number of options that are on the private sector. And on the retire side, you might be limited by options, again, depending on whether you are SAPs or whether you're sitting on with GEMS. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to make the decision to resign. That's not what this video is about. In fact, it's not what the entire channel is about. It's about empowering you with information so that you can make a more informed decision. So you know that medical aid is just one aspect to consider when deciding whether to retire or resign. You want to start to have a look at other elements. For example, tax, you want to look at income options, lump sum options, as well as some of the other areas that I've covered inside of previous videos. So you want to look at this holistically, taking into account multiple factors as well as your personal circumstance before making that choice on whether it's better for you to retire or resign. So I hope the video has been helpful for you. Please post a comment below. I want to hear from you. Has it been empowering for you to get this information where you're getting to see the tax side from a different perspective? And also, is it something that you were aware of? So when it came to the fringe benefit, were you aware that this was actually getting added back to your salary and that you tax on the total income? So post a comment below. Let me know. If you have found the video helpful, give me a thumbs up sign so I know that the information that's being provided is being useful to you. And I encourage you to share this among other GEPF members because a lot of other members will need access to this key information. I shall see you in the next video.